How you doing, sweet daddy? No, no, it's not sweet daddy. It's sweet daddy. Well, I'm happy to call you my new manager. I'm what you call a player in the management profession. Right. Pimp.
As a black man, I find it real troubling for white politicians to become ventriloquists to black conservative dummies. Tim Scott, the way he bowed down to white supremacy is sickening to me. As a black man, I find his antics despicable.
Did you ever think that she actually appointed you, Tim? And think of it, appointed, and you're the senator of his state, and she endorsed me. You must really hate her. No, it's a shame. It's a shame. Uh-oh.
I just love you.
No, that's why he's a great politician.
All right, folks. So the folks at Project 21, group of minority conservatives, ooh, they were a little upset, y'all. They were caught their feelings. And so Craig DeLuz, this is what he writes. The problem is not guns. It's the zero bail, sanctuary city, and defund the police liberal policies that have progressively made our streets less and less safe. As social justice warriors like Roland Martin continue to advocate for criminals of color, they ignore the fact that overwhelmingly their victims also happen to be people of color. He clearly cares more about violent criminals than he does their victims. Has he been drug tested? Because the segment we were discussing the shooting in Allen, Texas. I don't recall one time where I was advocating for the shooter. A white Hispanic who also is a white supremacist neo-Nazi.
I need you to understand you will see a continuous theme of black conservatives speaking about black on black crime in order to justify the over-policing and the over-incarceration of your community. You will notice that that is a consistent talking point with Project 21, which is a conservative, white, right-wing funded black organization.
You're a pimp. That makes you the hope. I'm not a whore. What do you do for a living? Make people laugh. Make them feel good, right? You the hope. That's not right. Why do you do what you do? Why? Because I enjoy it and it's the best way I know to make money. You the hope. Wait a minute, what if I said I do it only because I enjoy it? You the dumb hoe. So what ideas do you have for my career? First thing I got to do is school you in street word.
All right, so we were just talking about this whole issue of police brutality, police violence committed against multiple Americans, but especially African Americans. Yet, our next guest, Philip Clay with the Project 21, claims that black media doesn't talk about a major issue like black on black crime. So, really, I found that'd be real interesting. So he joins us right now. So, Philip, glad to have you here. So, how do you ascertain we don't discuss the issue of black on black crime?
White people would pay people like this black man to come on television or get on the internet to criminalize his own black skin. This is what we have to understand. How can we respect someone that allowed these white supremacists to stick their hands so far up his butt that they can move his lips?
So for me personally, I'd like to take the conservative out of this and really just talk to you as a young black male. From where I sit in Indiana, which has a very high crime rate when it comes to black Americans, I don't see the same outrage and instances of black on blacks, young black teens killing black teens, as I do when I see 5 black officers beating and killing Tyree Nichols in tragedy. or in instances like you were just talking about earlier in Mississippi, or in the George Floyd instances. To me, the article that I wrote and the reason I'm on your show is because I feel that until we as a community can start to rally together and say no more, we can't progress. My article intends to say that we need to, as a community, come together and stop blaming police, just blaming police, and we need to stand together, and we need to progress, and we need to make things happen.
What is the, so you say you're there in Indiana. What is the white-on-white crime rate in Indiana?
Rolling off the top of my head, I don't know that figure for you.
So I'm trying to understand, if you only mentioning black-on-black crime, how do you not mention white-on-white crime? Because if we're talking about crime in this country, we've seen an explosion in the last several years of crime in rural America that doesn't involve black people.
2019 crimes in the United States. What we know is a total of 6,816,975 crimes were committed in the United States. And we know out of that, 4,729,290 of those were committed by white people. So this is what Roland Moulton means when he says, why is there no conversation about white-on-white crime?
Right. Although 89% of black people are killing other black people. There was an article, unfortunately I can't share my screen like you can.
Right, but the reality is, if you look at actually crime in America, it typically happens where people live. So typically, if you're black, crime is being committed by someone black, and if you're white, crime is being committed by somebody white. So why is it that no one ever mentions white-on-white crime? Why is it the pathology always black-on-black?
Like aggravated assault. White people charged 169,000. Burglaries. White people lead in all these crimes, larceny. And when you understand that crime is something that is affected due to proximity, then you will understand that the issue of white-on-white crime, the purpose in always bringing up the narrative of black-on-black crime is to criminalize your black skin. And this is why I say white people act as if they have ventriloquists and use some of these conservative, Republican black dummies to spew their racist talking points.
What word? What word? What? You said word. What word? Oh, snap. What the hell? Dog, word is like, I heard that? Heard what? Oh, dog, you're not white. You are neon white. You so white, you make Barry Manilow look like a brother. Wait, I like Barry Manilow. Woo! Are you gay? I'm not gay. You just white. Yeah. It's all good. Yeah. Look, do you think this is gonna work between us? Let's make an analogy here. An analogy. If we were food, I would be a fine summer wine that would be divine anytime. What about me? Every good wine needs a cracker. Oh, that's funny right there. You got laugh at that.
I need us to understand that this white ventriloquist and this black dummy is sending out the same message as that black Republican is doing. He's sending out the message that blacks are criminally minded, right, looking to get over in every method, and that white people are the straight and narrow, are the safe people. This is what that ventriloquist and his dummy is doing while perpetrating a negative pimp image of black people. This Republican is doing the exact same thing while focusing on black crime and ignoring those that are committed by white people and ignoring the economic conditions of our community and ignoring the assistance that white people community receive versus ours. His intent is the exact same as this white ventriloquist with his racially charged dummy to promote a negative stereotypes of black people being criminals.
Crime.
Well, I think white on white crime is mentioned. I think it is.
No, it's not. It's that phrase is never even used. It's literally never even used.
So then what's it called, Roland?
Oh, it's called, first of all, they just say crime. But what you have is you have folks who say black on black crime. So again, what I'm saying is,
addressing a population that's disproportionately affected. It is a big thing, and
No. I'm not saying it's not a big thing, but the reality is we do focus on what is the underlying issue of crime. So what is that? What's the underlying issue of crime?
Please tell me.
Huh?
Please tell me.
You don't know?
No, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
No, first of all, if you're going to write about how we should be focusing on crime, then you might want to be talking about what is the underlying issue of crime. John Hope Bryant.
The reason why he couldn't answer that question, he sounds so baffled, is because his job and objective is to go on here and to project black people as criminals, as if we do that without any purpose, as if our economic condition has nothing to do with the criminality in our community, because now you have to address what created the economic conditions that created the criminality in your community. And because he is nothing but a talking point for white people, he's going to avoid that aspect of the conversation in its entirety and strictly focus on the criminalization of his own people.
The history of black people in the United States is a tapestry woven with tales of resilience, struggle, and triumph. From the harrowing journey of capture and enslavement to the liberating echoes of the Emancipation Act, the black community has weathered storms that would break the spirit of many. However, despite overcoming tremendous odds, the echoes of discrimination, inequality, and deliberate sabotage persistently reverberate through the generations. In the aftermath of emancipation, the promise of freedom was tainted by the ominous shadow of Jim Crow laws and segregation, ensuring that equality remained an elusive dream for black Americans. Surprisingly, in the face of adversity, when being black meant being hated, hunted, and abused, black individuals managed to persevere and build wealth. From the first female self-made millionaire in U.S. history, being a black woman, to other black inventors and innovators breaking through barriers, history tells tales of remarkable accomplishments. However, a startling paradox exists today. The black race, once resilient in the pursuit of prosperity, now represents the poorest demographic in the United States. The black-white wealth gap remains dishearteningly wide, and black people continue to grapple with the challenge of acquiring basic needs and maintaining wealth. It might shock you to discover that this plight is not due to a lack of effort on the part of black individuals. Instead, a covert scheme operates right under our noses, silently sipping black wealth away. Systematic racism persists, demanding that black people work twice as hard for even a modest level of success. Yet upon reaching that point, everything they've worked for seems to crumble. In this video, we embark on a journey to reveal the deliberate sabotage that keeps black people ensnared in poverty. We'll explore the policies that perpetuate this narrative, exposing the flaws in the system that contribute to the persistent inequality.
How can you allow someone to stick your hand that far up your butt to move your lips for you and make you speak against your own people? This is sad.
Oh, we got a fine hoochie llama right here. Hello. You looking to go home with some real wood? You like it. I need these short, that it ain't my feet holding me up.
Just like white people eat up every aspect of that modern day minstrel show, they eat up every aspect of these black conservatives coming out here speaking negative of their own people. This is why Candace Owens is so heavily rewarded by white supremacists. This is why she is on networks that promote racist rhetoric on a continuous basis. It's because white people will finance black people who speak negative against their own people. Look at Jason Whitaker on Fox. You have to understand the game that they play, and we have to start to hold these people accountable for coming out here spewing this ignorance to our face.
Talks all the time that you've never seen a riot in a community where the credit score is 700 or higher. I was just in Wichita, Kansas, the MLK event, and the former police chief of Philadelphia, the police chief of Wichita who came from Philadelphia, we were discussing this, and the reality is you can track crime rates in neighborhoods based upon economic status. And so if you want to address, so when you say we don't address the issue of crime, we do, because on this show, we consistently are talking about economics, we're talking about education, we're talking about access to capital, we're talking about housing, we're talking about all of those issues. Those are the fundamental underpinnings of crime in America.
Right. So I'm not sure if you read the article or not, but at the end of it, it does say that it's a community issue. We as a community have to fix this.
See, that is the goal of most modern day black conservative Republicans, is to distract you from knowing the role that the government played in creating your condition. See, he wants to avoid the fact that the government has an obligation to the black community to straighten the wrongs that they have done to us, to correct the conditions that they have created due to their policies.
At the beginning of the 20th century, African Americans owned at least 14 million acres of land. By the 21st century, 90% of the land had been stolen from them. Now, African Americans only own 1.1 million acres of farmland and are part owners of another 1.07 million acres. Across the century, white farmers and landowners developed multiple ways to take African Americans' land, using methods such as heirs property, tax sales, and Torrens Acts. To understand the magnitude of this land theft, one must examine the extreme measures taken by those who captured the land from African American landowners. Both laws and practices allowed white landowners, farmers, and developers to manipulate the system so they could gain control over the land owned by African American farmers and homeowners. The ways people were allowed to take land differed by state, with each having its own approach to scheme black people out of their land.
But I don't think, like your last panelist was saying, by just vilifying police and saying that all the police are bad. And
I'm sorry, who said that?
I believe it was Reese.
No, she didn't. Reese didn't say all the police were bad. We were very specific about what cops we're talking about. And so if we're talking about cops, because you talk about a disproportionate rate, the fact of the matter is we see it where cops do lie. In your neighboring Chicago, there was a judge who got so sick and tired of cops lying on the witness stand that he literally reported them to the Citizens Accountability, saying, I will not allow these cops to come back in here. You have district attorneys in Prince George's County and also in Chicago. They have lists of cops who they will not let testify because they are known to lie. So why can't we hold cops accountable for also committing crimes and lying and making things up in police reports? And we will talk about what happens in the neighborhoods. Why can't we hold them accountable? They got badges and guns.
No one's saying that we can't hold them accountable. And I want to make that clear. And the article doesn't say that we can't hold them accountable. The article clearly says that good cops call out bad cops. And despite all
I'm sorry, you said good cops call out bad cops?
Good cops call out bad.
This is Democracy Now! I'm Amy Goodman. A New York court has vindicated a former Buffalo police officer who was fired for stopping a fellow cop from choking a handcuffed black man during an arrest 15 years ago. In 2006, Carol Horn, who is black, saw a white officer repeatedly punching the man in the face before putting him in a chokehold. After Horn heard the man say, "I can't breathe," she intervened, grabbing the officer's arm. After the incident, Horn was sanctioned by the Buffalo Police Department, reassigned, then fired in 2008, just months before she was eligible to receive her full pension.
Now you should see why white people are paying him. Now you can see why he is a useful tool for white people, is to distract from the fact that officers that do call out bad cops are heavily penalized, and that was not brought to the forefront until the protest for the Black Lives Matter after the George Floyd killing, where we watched 3 other officers stand by while Derek Chauvinist kneeled on his neck for 9 minutes.
Last week, a New York court ruled, making her eligible for back pay and pension benefits. New York State Supreme Court Judge Dennis Ward cited Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in his ruling, writing, "The time is always right to do right." Ward also wrote, recent events in the national news, including the death last year in the city of Minneapolis of George Floyd, who died from unreasonable physical force being applied for over 9 minutes, have sparked national outrage over the use of this practice, unquote. The judge continued, one of the issues in all of these cases is the role of other officers at the scene, and particularly their complicity in failing to intervene to save the life of a person to whom such unreasonable physical force is being applied. To her credit, Officer Horn did not merely stand by, but instead sought to intervene despite the penalty she ultimately paid for doing so, the court said.
That's a lie. That is literally a lie. We start right there in Memphis, where so were there any good cops who showed up? We played a video yesterday. We played a video yesterday in Chicago where these 2 cops were beating this guy in a jail cell. 2 cops, 2 other folks just stood there and watched them. We've shown a video on this show from Los Angeles, from Mississippi, from South Carolina, from North Carolina, from Philadelphia, from Detroit, where cops stand back and watch these things unfold, and they will actually back up the lying cop in police reports. So please show me where there's this swell or this groundswell of good cops reporting bad cops.
Roland, you and I agree on that subject, that those people are not good cops, the people that stand by idly and don't do anything.
I don't know what the hell that was. He just embarrassed the hell out of everybody. Even the white folk are sitting there going, what the was that? You know, us black folk got a saying, stay black. Right.
On the verge of the Tyrese Nichols murder, white people used this black person to write an article to vilify the black community in order to try to take some of the blame off of the way that they police our community. And it should be obvious by this point of the video what his intent is. And the fact that they think that they're going to win over black voters by highlighting or promoting these type of people shows you exactly how these white people think of you. Shows how ignorant they really think we are, that we will listen to somebody like that who will go on national TV or a widely watched podcast and spew out such hatred towards his own people.
In doing research for the article, and fortunately enough, last year I had a chance to work with my local police department to understand what goes into being a police officer, because I wanted to know for myself what it takes to become a police officer. One of the things that was taught, one of the core things, was that not only is use of force a last resort, but you're also taught to de-escalate your partner when your partner becomes too emotionally involved or too attached to whatever's happening.
How often have you seen that? How often, when you've seen a lot of these video footages, now I've seen de-escalation when the person's white. I've seen a whole lot of de-escalation. But typically, when I'm seeing body cam footage and it's somebody black, I'm seeing an escalation of tensions. And so please give me some examples where de-escalation is often happening.
You're talking about the videos that have been seen. What about the thousands that haven't been released because there was a successful de-escalation or there was a successful stoppage of whatever was happening?
I got some advice to you. What? Stay white. All right, look, I know a lot of white people emulate the African-American culture that makes themselves seem cooler. Yeah, us black folk got a word for that. What? Irritating. So I say it again, and it goes for most everybody in this room. I stay black, you stay white. Right.
This ventriloquist and his black dummy did the same thing as this black conservative Republican. Promote a negative stereotype against blacks and reinforce a positive image of white Americans. That is his whole objective.
Or the video, or the examples where the cops didn't turn the cameras on, and where in Chicago they were breaking the antennas off of the dash cam cameras as well. I mean, again, the point here is, again, we're still talking about a fundamental problem in this country. Last year, police in America, based upon the data, Samuel Singawe, we had him on the show, they killed more people in 2022 than any other point in history. We have seen a dramatic increase of police violence. We have seen insurance companies come out and say that they are going to stop insuring cities, or they're going to actually raise their rates because of the high number of police violence cases. And so I'm trying to understand, you want to talk about black on black crime as a conservative, here's what I want to know. Where are all of the fiscal conservatives complaining about the millions upon millions and billions being spent on police settlements?
I hope it's obvious the intent of this man and his article is to deflect the attention away from the negative policing that are suffered in our community. And I hope that we really begin to hold these type of people accountable for daring to come in our community and spew such rhetoric and hatred about their own people.
Yes, I actually did read the article, and I have to say, I think it's appalling to use the brutal death of Tyree Nichols to advance propaganda as Black people as violent. You compared, you compared, I listened for the past 10 minutes without, whatever. So anyway, so you compared the cops to gang violence, which is more coded language, anti-Black coded language. And I do agree with you on that, though, because the police departments, like the ones that are out of control and need consent decrees, which as a member of Project 21, I'm sure you know that in their Black agendas to do away with consent decrees, that the police officers often are like gang members. This just so happens to be Black gang members that are in the police department, and they just so happen to not get the protection of that blue line. But to your point that Black people don't care about Black on Black crime, that is completely false.